What's going on, everybody? It's Paulie Barr, your life recovery coach, and welcome to Coach's Corner.
And this is Chrissy Moore, your Broken Beautiful Ministries life coach.
You can find us at setfreelife.net. And once again, guys, we're going to break down some real issues with real solutions for real people that want a real Jesus. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Well, after looking at these stats, I didn't even look at the current Christian. There's 550,000 podcasts right now.
Wow.
Okay. 56% of the podcast listeners are men. And I didn't know that. 44% are women. And some of the podcasts that are out there, not including Christian, because that's going to be, an our segue.
Right.
You've got your sports podcasting, you've got your and I just kind of picked and chose a few that just stood out to me because I want people to see that we have to make a difference out there in the world.
Right.
There's fiction love story podcasting.
Right.
Fiction love story. So if you don't have enough drama in your life, now you can listen to free drama,
Yeah.
News and politics. Because who doesn't get enough of it already on the television, right? Language. And then it says, some of the language that is discussed on this podcast is why we use swear words more than others. This particular podcast has over 2,000 listeners because they talk about swear words. Wow. Okay, culture. They talk about a large conversation. Their conversation is basically about your identity and your culture and how to understand it.
Uh-oh, I'm wrapped up in my headphone.
So now it's like, okay, so I'm Hispanic, but now I got to know why I'm Hispanic. Some of these are so stupid, but there were so many followers, right? Okay. Comedy.
I'm listening. They are stupid.
Comedy. Two real-life friends have found a sort of easy banter simply that they can't fake. They also stick to familiar territory, cracking jokes about their life in New York. Be careful with their language. Again, just two people like you and me, but they get on a podcast and they talk about their stupid lives in New York using the F-bomb however often because they can't think of any other educated word. And they have all these followers. And of course, we can't forget Buffy the Vampire Slay Killer.
Watch out.
Because everybody's got to know about killing vampires. So these are just some of the statistics, some of the stats that I was able to find regarding podcasting and what people are listening to.
So why didn't you put that information?
Why? Because I felt like I think that our audience needs to know not why we're doing this, but why we're doing this. Because if we're going to ask for any kind of support, these are the statistics that we're basically trying to break. Yes, there's a lot of Christian podcasting out there. There's Greg Laurie, there's Joyce Meyer, some of the greats, some of the forerunners in the faith, they have their podcasting. Right. But a lot of the messages, maybe they're not going to be able to relate to because some of the people have really deep issues. And I think people need to hear that. So I feel that what we're talking about, there's a lot of people out there that need to understand that we're not just sitting here. Obviously, we love to talk about nothing and everything, but we're not sitting here just talking to
bring race because we're stupid.
Well, yeah, not just to play games or whatever. I mean, it's a big deal because when I started looking at these stats, it's like, God, thousands of people are listening to Buffy the Vampire Slay Killer. Okay,
Wow.
they're learning how to slay vampires that don't exist.
Right.
So then that tells me, wait a minute, they're looking for fiction love stories. They're listening to these stories about love but it's not real.
The love that don't exist.
Exactly. So they're listening to love that doesn't exist. They're listening to how to kill vampires also that don't exist, for people that think they do. No, they
Right.
don't. And yet they won't take 5 minutes maybe to sit down and listen to what we have to say because whatever opinion crosses their brain.
Right.
So
Wow.
anyhow,
I think that's a, we're just trying to bring that awareness, and we're just going to flow with this. I just think that we're trying to bring that awareness to those who are listening, to bring up the topic of we need sponsors.
yep.
Like, it's a reality, because we want to be able to bring not only awareness of, okay, people are going through the dark thing. People are going through this thing called life. People are being molested. People are, we don't want to just talk about it. We
Mm-hmm.
want to also bring the tools to be effective, to be able to walk through that process. Right, Chrissy?
Right.
And just being able to impact the world that we're listening to. So guys, we just want to throw it out there. We need your help. We love the prayers and we need the prayers, but we need
Yes.
your help to continue to move this thing forward. And believe me, we will keep rocking this thing out of pocket to make
Yes.
sure that it's hitting the internet, it's hitting our website, it's hitting your phone. We have some of our subscribers that are truck drivers that are listening to our podcast while they're driving truck, and they're with their spouse. And now their spouse has subscribed because they want to hear, okay, how do we walk through this thing called life?
Right.
And so, guys, we need sponsors. It takes money to be able to do what we do. And we're just being totally honest. This isn't so that we put it in our pocket, but we need a new laptop. We need new equipment. What we want to do is we want to take this to the next level. And it's not for our glorification. All of this is to totally glorify God. And it's also to help the community to be set free and to, boldly walk out their full potential in Christ Jesus.
Amen.
In whatever way, shape, or form they're going to walk it out. Our desire, our passion, our vision is to help others be set free. And so, Chrissy's prime example, I mean, and she probably gets tired of hearing this all the time, but she's like one of the poster children for Set Free, who where now it's, 4 years later, she's doing her own ministry, Broken Beautiful.
Amen.
Has her website up now, guys. So go to brokenbeautifulministries.net, right?
Absolutely. And I just got to put in my little 2 cents in there, Coach, because as we were talking about this and we were going over the stats and I was just kind of researching and digging, I thought to myself, if the enemy is out there invading the airways with all his junk, why can't we invade the airways with all of God's word, the positivity, the tools, and everything that people need out there? And I'm just going to reiterate what you just said. We are totally not doing this to keep money in our pocket. If that was the case, I would definitely not be wearing these, Dollar Tree earrings. Because come on. I mean, who doesn't love a deal, right?
Look like they came from a Dollar Tree.
But they're cute. They're super cute.
Right.
But in reality, guys, all this money we need actually, yeah, we do need the new laptop, but we also need it, for airtime. The airtime is coming out of our pockets and we'll gladly keep doing it. But at the same time, we do hear your comments. We do hear, the email responses. We do hear the texts. And we just want to thank all of our partners who are not just praying with us, but are encouraging us and telling us to keep going, because it actually is motivating them and helping them. But we want to take it to the next level because there's people out there that are being bound, even by this, like we just talked about, even by listening to Buffy the Vampire Slay Killer. I'm sorry, guys, but they're living in a fantasy world.
Come on.
These people are missing something inside of themselves, that they feel like they have to be out there listening to podcasts about killing vampires that don't even exist, because something inside is missing. And we want to be out there, and we want to be the hope. Maybe you're not that person. You're not out there on camera. You're not out there on the airways, but you're out there on the streets. You're out there, passing out hot dogs. You're helping in the ministry with the old folks home. Everybody has their own particular calling, guys. And this is what God has called us to do. We are the voice screaming right now in the wilderness, because the harvest is ready.
Right.
The Lord spoke that to me this morning. The harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. So let me tell you something. We're the laborers. We're going out there. We're hitting it hard. We're running to the front of the line, and we're just asking for your support, because people out there need Jesus. And that's just the bottom. They need Jesus. They need hope. They need healing.
Absolutely. Guys, just to sum it up as far as the sponsorship, because we don't want to just talk about, raising money, but this is going on iTunes. We pay our producer, Flow Radio Network, to be able to produce it and get it on iTunes, on our Coach's Corner with Paul and Chrissy, on iTunes, going on SoundCloud, and just a bunch of different platforms that she has already created for us. So it does take another person to do that, because we want to be able to focus on just bringing content instead of, editing and clipping and cutting and adding and this and that. Our job is just to bring what God has called us to minister with to you. And, we just want to thank you guys. Well, number one, for the prayer.
Yes.
We couldn't do it without God. And number two, anything will count. So you can email me at recoverycoach@setfreelife.net. You can reach me at setfreelife.net, and you can reach me on any platform. Email me through there. And, we just want to thank you in advance. So what we're going to be talking about today is, why don't you give us the title, Chrissy, and let us know what we're rocking with.
So the title actually came out of a really great podcast that we had about a month ago, and it is called Jesus Took the Pause With Me. And I loved it because it was so profound to both of us when we talked about that. And I'm just thinking about all these different conversations that went on, because I can go back to so many different places when Jesus actually stopped and took the pause with me. And I just want to encourage everybody, as we get into this topic today, just take a few minutes and think about probably the most difficult time of your life. A lot of us think that God abandoned us, that he forgot us, that, maybe he turned around and didn't pay attention to the hardship that we were going through. But as I was reading this morning, hang on just a second, guys, because I actually tabbed this. Maybe I'm not going to find it now.
Well, let me just throw this in there while you're looking for that. And
Do that.
Honestly, guys, like we have a few notes, but we're really just going off the cuff today.
We are.
One thing that really just dropped in my spirit when you were saying of those moments that we feel like, Jesus wasn't there and turning around and didn't see us. It reminds me of the woman with the issue of blood, when he turned around and he said, "Who touched me?" Out of the multitude, his disciples are like, "Dude, like, there's a lot of people here." And he said, "Power left me. I felt power leave me." And just by her faith, just by this woman's faith, she was healed. And so Jesus took that pause. He took that pause to turn around and understand and notice that somebody that was truly hungry for a healing. She was hungry for the healing because she had gone through 12 years of seeking out a way to be healed. And so I really believe that at that moment, those were the 12 years of her process. In one flat second, she got the miracle, because she knew at that moment, you know what? I've been paying the wrong doctors. I've been going to the wrong conferences. I've been going to the wrong church. I've been talking to the wrong mentor. I've been doing this wrong thing. And this whole time, Jesus knew and he felt me and he turned around and said, by your faith, you are healed. And so that's what really stood out to me when you were talking about Jesus took the pause. And I have so many other analogies that I could talk about, but go ahead and bring up what you were going to say. And we're just going to continue this awesome conversation.
Okay, well, I found the scripture, guys, and it was Psalm 34:19. And it goes on to say that many are the afflictions of the righteous. And I just had to stop right there because it took me back to all the things that I went through, not only before I knew the Lord, but when I knew the Lord. And so many people think, well, before I got saved, I was a heathen. I smoked dope. I caroused. I did this and that. I said, yeah. That's fine and dandy. But what about after you gave your life to Jesus?
Right.
Okay. And you still smoke dope and you still carouse, because let's be honest, guys, when we come to the Lord, it doesn't just fall off. You have to process out, you have to walk out your salvation.
Absolutely.
But it goes on to say, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. And I love, that's one of my favorite scriptures, because when Jesus took the pause with me, he knew that I was going through so much afflictions, even as a Christian, but he delivered me out of them all. Now, did it happen sometimes when I wanted it to happen? No. As a matter of fact, there was years of pain that I walked through. There was seasons of abandonment that I felt. But I love the fact that when we brought that up on the last podcast, Coach, we were all able to identify and just stop and really pause. And I love that, because that really was a Selah moment.
Right.
For all of us to just sit there and go, wow.
Right.
He stopped with me. So what I mean by this, guys, is this. You're running a race, you're pushing, you're grinding, you're processing your pain, you're getting healed, you're doing this, you're doing that. But then you become weary. And you just wake up one day and say, man, I don't even know if I should do this anymore. Is this really what God wants me to do? I mean, I'm getting opposition from everywhere. I'm getting opposition from my friends. I'm getting opposition from my family. I'm getting opposition at work. Should I even continue? So when you stop,
right,
it's like he stops right there with you, kind of like what a mother is holding their child's hand and they're crossing the street. She's not going to let him cross the street, because she knows that there's cars coming left, right. But when the traffic stops, she's going to grab his hand and they're going to cross the street together. He's not, well, he could bolt out, but he's not going to let him bolt out.
Right.
He's going to keep walking with you. So I just want to encourage you guys, because there has been a lot of times, and Coach, we talked about this before, but we've had to stop, guys. We've had to stop because sometimes we felt hard pressed. And I looked up that definition the other day because I was writing something down, but to feel hard pressed can mean two things. It could mean like there's an urgency that you have to do it right now, but it also can mean you're hard pressed. That means you're being pushed on every side, like four walls are starting to cave in. So I just want to encourage everybody out there today, as we continue this, Jesus is there to take the pause with you. Don't ever feel like, okay, since maybe Jesus forgot me and I'm going to cross the street without him. Yeah, do not do that.
Right.
We've been in that situation where we, how shall I say it, Coach, think we know better than God.
Come on.
And we decide we're just going to do it. I never heard from God. I never did anything. I'm just going to do it. And all of a sudden you're smack in the middle of the road and you're like that game. What's it called? Frogger? Do y'all remember that game, Frogger?
Doink, doink.
And all of a sudden you're freaking out because you're fixing to get run over by these cars. Right. And now you're really stuck, but even in those moments that we totally royally screw up, he is right there. He's still right there in the middle of the road.
Amen.
Waiting for us. Amen.
Amen. I really, thinking about that today, I've been thinking about it the last few weeks, and, we haven't done a podcast together. We've put some podcasts up that we've done before. But we haven't done a podcast in almost 2 months, guys. And
Yeah.
so, but we talk every day. So was just thinking about, when Jesus took the pause with me. And that is a profound statement, because when this young girl, Aaliyah Cole, talked about Jesus took the pause with her, and I'm just going to say it, that podcast was very controversial.
Yes.
It was very controversial with just people that were in her life. And it was very controversial because it was the dark thing being defined in that moment. And so the reality is that when I had backslid, I had backslid and was, starting to smoke weed again. And a friend of mine called me and said, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "You know what? I'm just handling things the way that I know how, because nothing's working right now. Things are jacked up. Things are screwed up. I've screwed up." And she said, "Well, just come home." And I said, Have you ever wanted to buy a brand new home?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, so in that home, would you bring your dirty furniture?" She said, "Well, probably not." And I said, "Okay, I'm that dirty furniture that wants to come back to the house of God. And I only know how to deal with what I'm dealing with right now, my way."
Mm.
And so I really believe that in that short season, because it was short, I told God straight up, I told him straight up, "I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break from Christianity. I'm taking a break from you. I'm taking a break from church. I'm taking a break." And I distinctly heard his voice, and he said, "Okay." But I believe that he took that pause with me, because after about a week, I was high, and I was so high that I couldn't even really function. And I literally started seeing demons. I literally started seeing those things that I didn't even see when I was in the world. And that's how I knew that I was saved and I was called. And in that moment, I truly, honest to God, saw Jesus walk through my bedroom, and he said these plain words: "Paul, there's heaven or there's hell. Which way are you going?"
Mm. Wow.
And I said, "Honestly, the hell with this. I'm going to heaven." Like, for real. And after that day is when calamity hit. I thought it was the devil, but it was truly God removing me from a situation, but he had to make it uncomfortable. And that's just how it worked for me. He made it uncomfortable for me to really see, okay, it's time for me to go, because it was down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was down to the wire. And the same person that had reached out to me about how my life was the same person that said, "I have a plane ticket waiting for you. Just come back home to Ohio.
Wow.
I've got a plane ticket waiting for you." Somebody else said, "I've got a place for you to stay for a year." And I believe that it wasn't just that short season, that 2 or 3 weeks of me taking a break, that Jesus took the pause with me, but he took the pause with me for a whole year. It was a whole year of purification. It was a year of my mentor pouring into me. It was a year of me fighting my flesh. It was a year of me fasting and praying and going to different revivals. But in the same moment, my mentor spoke into me and said, "Look, always stay hungry for God, never starving." He said, "Because when you become starving for God, you're going to reach for any conference. You're going to reach for any prophet. You're going to reach for any word. You're going to reach for any church. You're going to reach for any woman. You're going to reach for anything, because you're going to start manufacturing, because you're not satisfied with what God is feeding you." He said,
Wow.
"This season, you are being fed manna. And the manna is going to sustain you, so that when you get to the promised land, you understand and you appreciate what good food and fruit he's going to give you." And I was just like, wow, I truly didn't understand what that meant at that moment. But as I look back at my life, that was a year and a half before I found my wife,
Wow.
and being able to get married and start ministry. We're actually going into our anniversary this weekend, 7 years. And we believe that the number 7 is the number of completion. And
Mm-hmm.
so we truly believe that this year, and you know it, Chrissy, like, this is the year that I believe, actually 2019 is the year that things are just about to launch. Like,
Yes.
there's going to be
Amen.
so much launch that's coming out, and I'm just putting it out there. Chrissy is already writing her book. I believe that by February, March of 2019, that book will be published. So we will keep you updated. But I'm telling you guys, when Jesus takes the pause with you, it's not always necessarily snotting and balling every 5 minutes. It's not necessarily just sitting in a church pew fasting and praying. It's about him doing life with you, and he's walking it out with you, because in that season that he took the pause with me, God instructed me, for the next few weeks until I tell you to stop, I don't even want you to open your Bible in the morning. I don't even want you to pray. I just want you to spend time with me, because I was seeking the God that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob knew. I wanted to know the God that Adam saw and heard walking in the cool of the day. And so God began to reveal himself to me in that form, where he said, I want to wake up with you every day and I want to speak to you. And Chrissy, I really believe that a lot of my revelation that I got in life, I believe that Set Free was birthed out of that season when Jesus took the pause with me. And so I'm here to encourage y'all today that whatever pause you have to take with Jesus, if you're going to school, if you're in ministry and you're about to do something that you're just uneasy with, take the time to take the pause. Take the time for Jesus to turn around and say, Zacchaeus, I want to have lunch with you. I want to break bread with you. Because Zacchaeus climbed a tree just to see Jesus. And out of the whole crowd, Jesus looks up at this tree and says, yo, homie, I want to break bread with you. I want to get to know you. And so there's a lot of Zacchaeuses out there. There's a lot of women with the issue of blood, and it's not just women. There's a lot of men out there that are fighting for their lives and just don't know how, because you don't have the tools. Right. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to speak your voice. Don't be afraid to want the help, because the help is there.
Yes.
So, Chrissy, go ahead and do your thing, because I know you're writing notes.
I'm writing notes. Can you see me? I'm just like.
So take it away. Let's just stay in this dialogue.
So I love when you wrote that, because, guys, there's so many different pauses that Jesus can take. And Paul just mentioned about when you need to take that time and just get away with him. But what about, you're thinking, yeah, but what about if I'm so angry at God right now?
Wow.
What about, is he taking the pause with me, or is he angry back at me? And I'm going to share a very controversial conversation. So we can edit it later, maybe, if we decide to.
No editing involved.
But we had a situation years ago, and I'm just so proud of my daughter. I'm just going to give her a shout out, because I recently got to share her powerful testimony on my website. If you haven't gone to my website, it is www.brokenbeautifulministries.net. And I have a page called Broken Beautiful Heroes. And let me tell you guys, that has been just shooting through the roof, because people have been visiting that page. People have been commenting, telling me, thank you for sharing this story. It has blessed them. It has given them a voice. It's given them hope and courage to just get out there. But anyhow, I'm so proud of my daughter, Jessica, and she shared a lot of what, my late husband did, because he molested her as a very young girl. But she also got to share a little bit of part of the story where she was sexually assaulted in a church. And it was really hard, because I didn't know it had happened, and had myself or a coach had known, we probably wouldn't be here doing a podcast today.
Right.
But the part where I'm getting at, guys, is sometimes we feel like we can't go to God, or he's not taking the pause with us because we're angry. So I was in a situation where I was pulled into a little meeting, and there were several people in that meeting, and they basically told me to keep this conversation on the lowdown. I was angry. I think I was beyond angry.
I bet.
The verse that says be angry and sin not, I think I threw that one out the window because I was like, I'm angry and I'm fixing to sin like right now.
You'd be like, that's meant for you, not for me.
Right. That doesn't apply to me. I'm sorry, not right now. So I was actually told in this meeting that the conversation, this, and Jess mentioned it in the story. So I'm not, not saying anything. It was mentioned that this boy would pull her into different rooms and do stuff to her. These people in that room were aware of that situation, and they were aware that he was coercing her to do that. And I was told to just please keep it under wraps.
Right.
And thinking about it right now, it's like, okay, guys, I'm still processing my pain here. So I'm being really transparent. When I walked out of that room, there was 5 people in the room, and I was actually, told several times to just please keep whatever happened to myself and in this room. It was not going to leave that room at all. When I walked out of that room, guys, I had no respect for those people in that room. And these people in that room were pastors. They were elders in the church. And I'm sitting there angry because I don't even know if I want to go to church anymore. I have firsthand seen somebody tell me to keep my mouth shut about a situation that they knew was wrong and was not handled. It wasn't even handled incorrectly. It wasn't handled at all.
Right.
Okay. And I remember walking out of there, and my son was in there with me, and he was afraid I was going to let loose. And I honestly don't know why I didn't. But guys, there's been situations I'm sure that you can identify with in the church where you walked out of the church and said, this is it for me.
Right.
I'm not going back. I'm not doing ministry. I'm not serving God, because how could a big God like that allow something like this to happen to my loved one?
Absolutely.
To me. And for months, and I'm just going to be honest, for months, I bathed in it. I wallowed in it. I was angry. I wore the anger under my mask. I pretended that everything was okay, because let's just be real. Sometimes you got to go to church and people expect you to be perfect. And I never processed that pain. And you know what? When we talked about that podcast with Aaliyah, and I'm so glad that you brought her name up, because that really was a controversial podcast. Jesus took the pause with me that day.
Wow.
He was in that room. And it didn't even dawn on me until you and I were talking about it the other day. And I was just like, I was really upset. He took the pause with me in that room because he knew I went in there to defend my daughter. And he knew I walked out of there mad, angry. I mean, beyond angry. And he sat there with me on the couch and watched me cry for hours. I wasn't just sad because I couldn't defend my daughter. I was angry at these people for allowing an injustice to happen.
Right.
And I just want to encourage you guys. Number one, I am still processing that pain.
I bet.
And it's been about 3 years. And let me tell you, when people think, oh, so you're doing podcasts, you got your own website, you're doing this and that, you must be all that in a bag of chips. No, honey, let me tell you something. I still process pain on a daily basis. It's just different.
Just like everyone else.
I'm just a human being. And I want to tell you guys, if you have ever been in a situation where you've been wounded in a church, especially a church, because I'm talking about that right now, I just want you to know that Jesus did take the pause with you that day. Maybe you were the one that was assaulted. Because I know, and I have spoken to other young women that has happened to them in a church setting. Maybe you're that person. Right. And no one would believe you because they are an elder or a pastor or whatever in the church. Let me tell you something. Jesus took the pause with you that day. And you don't have to pretend that you're okay. You don't have to pretend that you're not angry. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to process your pain. And I mentioned that last time we had Pam and Ryan Roy on here. It's like, hey, I'd rather process my pain than to fake my fine.
I love
And
that.
I want, yeah, that is awesome, guys. I'm going to say it again. I'd rather you process your pain than to fake your fine.
Hashtag
Because,
that.
yeah, hashtag that. Because let me tell you, I did fake my fine and I held that pain in deep. And so that's why even now I have to say, God, help me if I ever see this young man.
Right.
Because I don't know what I would do. Am I being scary? No, I'm just being human. And I want you guys to understand too that you have gone through an assault, or maybe someone stole from you, or maybe someone robbed you in your own house, a good friend, whatever the case may be. Jesus can take that pause with you too, even in your anger. Okay. Even in your pain, even in that agony that you feel, he's taking the pause with you because he understands your pain. He understands all the pain that you go through because he himself has also gone through that pain. So I just had to share that, Coach, because I really feel, and like I said, we've gotten comments and stuff. I really feel that there's a lot of wounded people that have gone to any church. I'm not just going to say a specific church because it doesn't matter what church. No church is perfect, obviously. But you have been wounded in the church and you don't want to get back in. And I'm just here to tell you that's a lie from the pit of hell.
Right.
Process your pain, but get back in a fellowship. Get back in a healthy. God will lead you to a place where you can find help and find people that you can trust. I learned very quickly when I walked out of that room that they were no longer to be trusted or respected. And that's my choice.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They showed me their true colors.
Right.
When someone tells you to keep your mouth shut because it's going to affect their reputation,
Right.
yeah, that's not godly.
Not
Let
at
me
all.
tell you, that's not godly at all. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you're taking the pause and you just think God's not going to be with me because I'm super angry and I'm mad and I want to just beat people up, I'm just here to tell you, yeah, he took the pause with me in that pain and that agony and that anger. He's still, because sometimes I have to take the pause daily, you know, he's still taking that pause with you. So I had to share that, Coach.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. This is where the enemy comes in and will try to destroy and try to keep a person bound in an area that they were just freed from. So let me just throw this out there. Let me just throw this out there. You had just come from a relationship of hush. You had just come from a relationship, a marriage, you know, with his, suicide and death and all that. But before that, saying basically what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yep.
Whatever happens in this home, and then not only that, but hey, y'all got to clean this mess up because
Right.
it's your mess. And so it's the whole manipulation thing. And so now you've been freed from that, and now you're in the house of God, somewhere that you trust,
Right.
somewhere where you would send your kids as the safe house. I don't know if you know, but like in certain neighborhoods, they have these little yellow signs on houses that is the safe house, that they're part of these group meetings, that a kid knows, okay, this has a certain color sign on their door. That's a safe house. I can go to this house any hour of the day and it's a safe house. They're part of a committee, a group that is there
Oh.
to help people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the same with the church. It's our safe house. It's our safe haven. And then to again be in this place where you feel free, like, hey, this is what happened. And I'm sure it could have been the conversation of, let's work this out. If both parties were like, the other party's like, oh my God, you know what? Let's call a meeting. I'm sure that your anger would have turned to mercy.
Obviously, yes, absolutely.
To be like, okay, so let's talk this thing out and let's just confront it. And obviously you're not going to trust to a certain level in a
Right.
certain degree to this person, but you're just going to say, hey, we need to confront this, and you need to be accountable for
Hmm.
what you did. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And so that's how the enemy works, taking you from one bondage, seeing you being set free to the other bondage. And then the other
Hmm.
thing that really stuck out to me, and I know that you are on the same page with me, is that this person, Jesus, has taken the pause with him.
Yes. Ugh.
So
Sorry,
so
guys. I'm just human here.
yeah, I mean, both sides of it is, Jesus takes the pause with the murderer, with the adulterer,
Yes.
the molester, with all of that. Sin is sin.
Yep.
And we as Christians, as people, as kingdom dwellers, want to act sometimes like, well, my sin's not as great as that sin. So
Right.
I know I'm graced. I know
Yeah.
that, God has mercy on me, but at the same time, he has mercy on all, you
Yes, it
know?
does.
And that's the powerful thing about Jesus. And one of the things um that I wanted to say was, while I was thinking today when I got off work, because we still work, guys. I was in my thinking chair and I was sitting there and I was just kind of staring out the window, and it just dropped in my spirit. Jesus takes the most unpredictable times and makes them whole.
Mm.
Sometimes our situations are so unpredictable that we think we have all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. We think everything is just peachy queen, everything is just beautiful, and it's that unpredictable thing that comes into that road, into that path, that
Mm.
he takes the most unpredictable times and makes them whole. He makes them complete to make sense. And it may not make sense at that moment. We've done a podcast on God just don't make sense,
Right.
and some guys, God don't make sense.
Right.
We can try to, word it in a way that sounds biblical or sounds
Super
right,
spiritual.
like spiritual and holy. But I'm sorry, God just don't make sense.
Right.
People can say it all the time, like, God's always on time, but there's times when the bill didn't get paid until 5 days later and there's still a late charge.
Right.
How was he on time in my time? He
Hmm.
was on time in his time. But the truth is that for me, God don't make sense. And that's the awesome part about God and about Christ, is they take the most unpredictable things in your life
Hmm.
and they make them whole, because it's already been done. The time has already been spent. Everything is already done. All they're waiting for is our faith to line up with our circumstance.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a tough thing, Chrissy, to wait, to like walk that thing out, to like really truly trust because of the tainted thing. But when Jesus takes the pause with us,
Hmm.
there's no other comfort. There's
Right.
no other thing, even in the moment. Because I can sit here now and say, oh, yeah, I just, it was the comfort. But at the moment, it wasn't comfortable.
Right.
It was definitely not comfortable. I can look back now and say, you know what? It was comfortable because I can see where Jesus was. But in the moment, I'm like, he hanging around? Like, where is he? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Hmm.
so being able to take the pause with Jesus and allowing him into our life, that's the powerful thing, is understanding and knowing that he's got all bases covered. Like, he's got everything mapped out. He's got everything totally rocked for us. And so I just hope that, I didn't mess you up by flipping the script about Jesus taking the pause with this person.
So no, you did it. And first of all, because we love to have fun on this podcast, guys, I just have to say that it's not Peachy Queen, it's Peachy King.
Whatever.
Okay. So, anyways, to answer that question, when you said that, I already knew, like, I know in my heart that Jesus took the pause with that person.
Right.
And I get that. And so I have to now flip the coin around and say, if you are that person, if you've been the molester, if you've been the rapist, there is mercy. I'm sorry, guys. This is so hard for me because I am still walking out my pain. But I want to tell you that if you've been that person who molested children because you were molested as a child, or if you have raped anybody because you were raped, or if you have been the abuser because you were abused as a kid, Jesus did take the pause with you as well. I can't sit here righteously and say that he just took the pause with me in my anger and not say that he can't take the pause with you in your pain as well.
Wow.
Because I know what's right. And, he died for us all. It's just sometimes it's hard because we see hurt through our pain. And we can only see the situation through our hurt, through our struggle, through our pain. But the one thing that I always go back to, this movie, The Shack, and we both talked about it afterwards. It was such a profound movie. Jesus saw that man who killed that little girl. He saw him as a little child who was hurt. Right. He was hurt as a little child. And so when the Lord looks at that perpetrator, he's not looking at him as the man that we see or the woman that we see. He's looking at the child that was hurt. And I always have to remember that because I still have to release that person, just like maybe you have to release that person. My daughter has released that person, right. which is so awesome to me that she's walking out her healing and she's truly enjoying her life. But me, I'm still processing because that's my baby.
Right.
Happened to my baby. And it's human to think I want justice, and at the end of the day, I know that God's justice is what's going to be justice, not my justice.
Right.
But God's justice. So I have to encourage, if there's any listeners out there today who have also, like I said, you've been the perpetrator, there's hope for you too. Jesus didn't leave you and just go help the victim. He's there for you to get you out of that hole so that you don't have to hurt anymore.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wow. Absolutely.
Yep.
Chrissy, thank you. That was deep. That was really, really deep. And I just pray that those who are listening are really taking these podcasts to heart, because we're still working out the process. We're still walking out this thing called life. Yeah. And it's a tough thing. People sometimes may see us as, man, you guys are like doing video and you guys have this synergy. Even my wife, the other day, she's like, you guys just need to keep doing what you're doing because you guys do it so well together. And, just so y'all know, just a disclaimer, her and my wife are best friends. So
we are,
there's no craziness going on. You just got to put that out there because, yep. People are people, and we never want our good being ill spoken of. And so we talk on a daily basis. We text back and forth. We check in on each other. We're doing this thing called life. Our families are merged. We do this thing called life. And our biggest passion is to be able to not only bless you with these podcasts, but to also set you free. Because there's areas in your life that you're bound to. And I'm just going to say it boldly. There are things that are in your life that you're bound to. You're in ministry, but you're going so hard in ministry that you've forgotten your family. I was that guy. You're so you're so engulfed in your business that you don't have time for your wife because you want to build something as your legacy husband. But let me tell you something. The precious moments are the ones that the wife is seeking. The things that she wants to do is what she is seeking out, because a good wife, like my wife, is constantly looking for things to do for me all the time. And there's times when I'm like, babe, let's do what you want to do. And still, it's always what I want. She's like, well, I kind of want this restaurant. And I'm thinking, that's my favorite. And so that's when you know that you have a good spouse and that you have something worth coming home to. And so if you're struggling in that area also, we are here to bring, again, not just awareness that the world is hurting, but the tools.
Yes.
And being able to help, because that's what we do. This is what we do. We've gone through it, and trust us, guys. We have seen so many radical miracles happen through Set Free, through Broken Beautiful, through Process to Progress, through all these different ministries that we are tied into, that we are just, it's kind of like a soul tie, basically. It's like the same anointing, the same power is what we do. And so we understand, guys, because we've been there. Jesus has taken the pause. We've ran from God. We've struggled with God. We've pushed God away. We've cursed at God. We've tried to lie to God. God knows our heart, and God knows exactly what we're going through, and he knows exactly what you're going through. So we're going to bring this podcast to an end for today. And we just want to thank you guys for listening. And if you want to donate, if you want to sponsor, email me, recoverycoach@setfreelife.net. You can email Chrissy at brokenbeautifulministries@gmail.com, right?
Yes, that is correct.
And you can go to her website, brokenbeautifulministries.net. And you can email her through there, correct?
Correct. You
and
can
get on her Facebook platform, and all those different things. So guys, we're about to wrap this thing up. We love you guys. And remember, Jesus is taking the pause with you. And if I could leave you with one thing of hope, always remember that life is better when you're laughing. So Chrissy, if you have any final thoughts, we're going to break this thing off.
Yep. I just want to encourage everybody to have the courage to speak out the pain that you're going through. Have that courage to talk to somebody. Have that courage. Just because you were shot down one time, or just because you were shot down at one point or a church, don't stop looking for that help. God is going to send that person. God is going to send that ministry. God is going to send whatever it needs, whatever you need, to be able to rescue you from that hole. Don't listen to the voice of the enemy and believe that there's no hope for you. There is hope. Just keep pressing through.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, once again, this is a session of Coach's Corner with Polly Barra and Chrissy Moore. Once again, guys, we are just giving a real talk for real people who want real results from the real Jesus. So we'll see you next time, guys. God bless you, and have a great day.
Bye.